Today, I'm going to show you all how to use diffusion and to use diffusers to really up your food photography game. During the video, I'll also explain kind of like the different kinds of diffusion, the different kinds of setups that you can have as well. I think a lot of people think that you have to buy something, special specifically for photography with diffusion, but you actually don't have to. Like, this IKEA lampshade works super, super well. I have like this photography like nylon cloth. It's super inexpensive. You can get this, you can clip it. I've used table linen before. If you are at a restaurant and you have the flash showing and you happen to have just like a napkin or a tissue, and that's going to work as your diffusions. There's a lot of different techniques here. Yeah, join me for class. So I've had people ask me this question before, where let's say they want to shoot some food photography for a family restaurant, or maybe they're putting together a family cookbook, and they're not really looking to spend any money. And they're just asking, okay, Christina, what is your biggest tip for just how to shoot better photos? And my advice is always this, is find a room with your biggest window and take a table and move it right next to that window. Get a large diffuser, and this can be something that you buy online. They are fairly inexpensive, and I can put a link down below. Or you can just get some sheer curtains that don't really block out the light, but block out any harsh rays from the sun. And that is my biggest advice, because that diffuse light from the sun really creates the perfect lighting for food photography. And I always say, food looks best in natural light. You just don't want any harsh rays of light, and so having that piece of diffusion there really just spreads out everything. Okay, so why do you need diffusion? I think most people understand this. Let's say it's like a really sunny day, or let's say that you're using artificial lights and a strobe light and you're just shining it towards your food or towards your subject. What you'll end up seeing is that, one, the light is really harsh, like the highlights are like super bright, or the shadows. What happens is the shadows are like super dark. And so you kind of have these like two different things going on in the photo, and it's really hard to be able to see everything clearly. Sometimes people like the shadow and the super bright effect as a stylistic effect, but for the most part, especially in terms of food photography, you want your food to be pretty evenly lit so that you can see everything and so that it's evenly lit. And later on in post, you can highlight certain things, or you can brighten up certain things to put an emphasis on it. But in general, when you're taking the initial photo anyways, you want everything to be, pretty evenly lit. So one of the things that you have to consider when you're thinking about, okay, like what kind of diffuser do I want? Things that you have to know about working with diffusers is how big or small your source of light is. So obviously when we're talking about the sun, when we're talking about a big window, that's a huge source of light, which is really nice because when it lights a subject, it usually lights it pretty evenly because it's so big. Versus, let's say, if you're using a flashlight, if you're using the light on your camera phone to shine onto your food, that's a really small source of light. And small sources of light usually create really harsh shadows, like very either bright highlights, depending on how powerful the light is, but bright highlights, super harsh shadows. Whereas big sources of light usually produce less, but it is usually a little bit more evenly lit. So then what you're saying is, okay, well, if it's not the sun, I don't run a big Hollywood production, most of the lights that I'm gonna be using, artificial lights, they're gonna be small sources of lights, whether they be strobes, whether they be flashlights or not. So the way to combat a small source of light when you want it to become a big source of light and have it be more evenly lit is actually, you can change that through the size of your diffusion. So if you stick kind of this in front of the light, to some respect, now instead of your light being small like this, it kind of becomes big and more even like this. And then if you have something big like this that you can just clamp onto a light stand or something, to that extent, your light source then becomes even bigger and it makes it more diffused that way, kind of trying to mimic the sun, which I think for most food photographers, like that is your goal. You're kind of trying to mimic sun. Today, what I actually have, and I showed you all this at the beginning, is Newer was nice enough to send me over one of their more or less like scrims, and it is gigantic, as you can see, and I'll put a link to them down below. But what this is really nice for is if you do have a nice big studio, or actually if you have a really big window that happens to, you know, sometimes have harsh light later on in the day, this is really nice because you can actually just roll it and then stick it right in front of your window. And if you adjust kind of the sides like this thing actually tilts. So really depending on what you're looking for, or even if you put, you know, a strobe light behind this, this is actually really nice because it's very adjustable. This actually can go completely horizontal. So let's say that you have, for commercial work, they might put actually a light completely overhead. And this one's really nice because it actually, you can fold it until it's completely horizontal so that you get this nice giant diffused light up above as well. So I will put a link to the Newer scrim down below. So thank you, Newer, for sending us that. All right, so I hope you all have enjoyed this really easy class on diffusion. Definitely let me know if you have any additional questions down below, or if you happen to be a photographer or you like photography, you know, add some extra knowledge and, you know, share it with the community and share it with the channel as well. And I'm always looking to do more of these intro style videos. So if any of you have ideas for topics, let me know down below as well. And I will see you all again next time, okay? All right, bye.